Just imagine if you had finished your fantasy draft last year with names like Chuba Hubbard, Bucky Irving, Darnell Mooney, and Jerry Jeudy, you would have had a serious advantage over your league mates. Well, in today's video, we're bringing 10 sleepers that your friends don't know about yet, but that are must draft. Starting at the wide receiver position, we'll do it in groups: wide receiver, running back, and then quarterback tied into in the video. Starting with wide receivers, Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman was starting to break out before his injury last year. We're going to look at weeks 1 to 6 versus weeks 7 to 11 for this sample size. Tillman got injured in week 12 with that concussion and did not return last year. And yes, keep in mind, this was prime Jameis Winston stretch from week 7 onwards, all right? But from week 7 to 11, he did demand 10 targets per game, 75.5 receiving yards per game, and was averaging 18.6 PPR points per contest. Now, who in the world knows if he could have kept up that pace? Yes, he could have been a product of Jameis Winston, but he's so damn cheap right now. What are we even talking about? He could be the last pick in your fantasy draft, and he should get plenty of opportunities in 2025, because if you look at this depth chart, he's clearly going to be a starting outside receiver for this team. Jerry Jeudy's a wide receiver 1, but outside of that, Deontay Johnson is his biggest concern for target share. Guys, the same Deontay Johnson that had 18 receiving yards total in 5 games last year after being traded away from the Carolina Panthers. The same Deontay Johnson that no NFL team prioritized in free agency. I mean, guys, this team needs another wide receiver to step up outside of Jerry Jeudy. No NFL team has more vacated targets heading into the NFL season than the Cleveland Browns. Take Tillman with your last pick. The upside is there. All right, how about a year 2 receiver that's getting slept on? Keon Coleman. We typically see year 2 wide receivers get pushed up draft boards. Keon Coleman, full transparency, I was anti Keon Coleman during the 2024 draft cycle. All right, I hold my hands up, but he has shown some flashes in his rookie season, specifically again before the injury. From weeks 1 to 4, we're going to compare that to weeks 5 to 8. Weeks 5 to 8 on the right-hand side here, you can see his points per game as he's getting his footing in the NFL goes from 6.7 to 13 PPR points per game. His wide receiver finishing those spans, wide receiver 73 to wide receiver 25. His target share jumped up from 11.3% to 19.6%. His receiving yards per game from 31.5 to 67.5. And more importantly, his yards per route run from 1.48 to 2.56. We saw massive strides and real signs of growth, right? Both in efficiency and in the importance to his offense. Then after his wrist injury, which he didn't ever feel the same, he just wasn't the same player. I mean, his GM acknowledged that. Brandon Beane said, look, I was a little disappointed in this interview. He talks about how he didn't have the same physicality or efficiency post-injury. And then Keon Coleman himself acknowledged that he was quote-unquote trash to end the 2025 season, but Keon's going to have every opportunity to break out in 2025 in a very, very good offense. There's not a soul on that team that can challenge him as the outside X receiver. Khalil Shakir, Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel, Laviska Shenault. These are all guys that do not have the ability to play outside like Keon Coleman. All right. How about Matthew Golden, a rookie wide receiver from the Green Bay Packers? It is typically so difficult. I want you guys to understand this. It is typically so difficult to draft rookie round 1 wide receivers in your fantasy drafts because they just get pushed up draft boards. That is not happening with Matthew Golden, okay? And I want you to ask yourself for a second. Pause the video after I ask you this. What did Green Bay need desperately in their wide receiver room this offseason? Reliability, specifically in the form of catching the damn football. The Packers had the 3rd most drops in the league last year behind the Browns and the Jets, and that frustrated head coach Matt LaFleur to a point of no return. It frustrated him so much that this staff decided to break a 2-decade trend of not taking a wide receiver in round 1, and they did that with Matthew Golden, who Matt LaFleur himself after the draft quoted to say that he had elite hands. And quite frankly, I agree with Matt. Matthew Golden had some of the best hands in the class this year, 72.3% catch percentage and a 61.1% contested catch rate. He is a true pure hands catcher, right? He's not catching the ball with his body like the likes of like a Dontavion Wicks or a Quentin Johnson or slippery hands. This is something that this wide receiver room desperately needs. And don't let all these jags on the Packers wide receiver room stop you from drafting Matthew Golden in his rookie season. Jaden Reed is a quality player. But outside of that, we've got a bunch of Jags and Romeo Dobbs and Wicks and McCole Hardman and Malik Heath, Christian Watson's out for the season. I don't think it's crazy to say that Matthew Golden could end the 2025 season as the number wide receiver in Green Bay. And a way under discussed topic this offseason is, what if the Packers throw the ball more this year? Fantasy Points data notes that the Packers posted a plus 3.6% pass rate over expectation in 5 games with a healthy Jordan Love, which would have ranked 7th highest in the league. And their other games, a negative 8.2% rate, which would have ranked dead last. The number one mistake that you can make as a fantasy football player is only looking at data from last year and not anticipating changes from one year to the next. Don't sleep on Matthew Golden. All right, how about a veteran wide receiver that has just been buried by ADP? How about Michael Pittman? This is a guy that you could probably flex week in, week out this year. Look, we were actively anti-Michael Pittman in drafts like last year in fantasy football, but that was all based around his ADP. And this year, he's the cheapest he's ever been. Pittman, look, he didn't just forget how to play football in 2024. His production fell off for sure. I mean, 10.4 points per game, his worst fantasy season since 2020. However, there were 2 big issues that Michael Pittman faced in 2024. Number one, a serious injury. All right. After the season, Michael Pittman revealed that he had been playing through a back fracture in 2024. I mean, he went on to clarify that he noticed a problem with his back during training camp last year. And then after the Colts week 3 win, they found the fracture and confirmed that he had fractured his freaking back. I mean, this man played an entire NFL season with a fractured back. All right. And I'm going to the doctor with a stubbed toe. This guy is just absolute dog. All right. But the second problem that he faced was a quarterback problem, Michael Pittman last year. I mean, let's look at Anthony Richardson's 2024 season. This is out of 39 quarterbacks in the NFL last year with at least 250 dropbacks. This is where he ranks out of 39 quarterbacks last year. 35th in PFF grade, 39th in completion percentage. By the way, 47.7% completion percentage. The second lowest in that category was Spencer Rattler at 57%. So an entire 10% worse than any other quarterback that started last year. Adjusted completion percentage, last. NFL rating, last. Here's something that he was very high at, though, to be fair, amongst the rest of the league. Turnover-worthy play percentage. Yeah, he was top 3 in that category, constantly turning the ball over. But take a second and think about this for a second, guys. Last year, Michael Pittman, in this awful situation we just described, finished as the wide receiver 44 on a points per game basis. And yet he's being drafted outside the top 50 at wide receiver heading into 2025. He is a no-brainer pick this year at the end of your drafts. All right, let's look at the running back position. Specifically starting off with Rashawn Johnson. This one is very, very simple. Ahead of Rashawn Johnson is DeAndre Swift. And DeAndre Swift was very, very inefficient. One of the most inefficient running backs in the entire NFL last year. There were 46 running backs in the league last year with 100 rushing attempts. Out of those 46 running backs, DeAndre Swift ranked 39th in PFF grade, 39th in yards per attempt, 44th in yards after contact per attempt, 24th in missed tackles forced, and 42nd in elusive rating. Now look, that doesn't mean that Rashawn Johnson's going to be better. And yes, I understand the offensive line has improved. Ben Johnson is there, but that is the part of the reason why we are in on Rashawn Johnson, because right behind DeAndre Swift, Rashawn Johnson is the next guy that is ready to step up for this team. And we all know the history of success Ben Johnson has had with running backs in fantasy football. He's had 2 running backs finish top 24 in each of his last 3 years in Detroit. In 2022, it was DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. In 2023 and 2024, both Gibbs and Monty finishing top 24. You guys remember that 2022 Jamal Williams season? I mean, Rashawn Johnson and Jamal Williams are very similar builds, guys. Both are 6 foot. There's only 1 pound difference between those guys in weight. Why can't Rashawn Johnson be this year's goal line merchant for Ben Johnson? All right, another running back here. How about Jalen Wright? Look, head coach Mike McDaniel has already come out and stated that he's going to get more involved. McDaniel says part of our vision moving forward is we have high expectations that the tandem of Devon Achane and Jalen Wright, and think that they will give us an opportunity to be really effective handing the ball off and doing stuff in the passing game, which makes logical sense because Wright is the clear next guy after Achane on this depth chart. And the running backs with the 2nd and 4th most carries on this team last year are no longer on the team. Mostert's in Las Vegas. Jeff Wilson Jr. is a free agent. He's fired off into the sun. But go back to that Mike McDaniel quote. You'll notice at the end, he says, running backs will give him an opportunity to do more in the passing game. Well, this team just traded away Jonnu Smith, who was 2nd on the team in targets last year with 111 targets. And I know they just added soon-to-be 33-year-old Darren Waller, but let's be real for a second. Jalen Wright is going to be more involved in the air this year than he was last year. All signs point towards that. All right. This is maybe diving deep into your bag. This is one of your last picks in your drafts this year. How about DJ Giddens, rookie running back for the Indianapolis Colts? I don't think a lot of people realize this, but in my humble opinion, DJ Giddens is one injury away from being a weekly starter in fantasy football. I mean, this is almost Zach Charbonnet, but it's like the knockoff Walmart version of Zach Charbonnet, all right? So by the NFL season, I believe he'll be the clear RB2 on this depth chart. His only competition for that spot is Khalil Herbert. The same Khalil Herbert who was brought in to be the RB2 in Cincinnati last year after Zach Moss's injury, and he was barely utilized. Look at his utilization rate last year with a healthy Chase Brown. He left no impact on that backfield. And in his one game as their starter, week 18 versus the Steelers, where Chase Brown wasn't available, he was wildly inefficient. And let's not pretend that Jonathan Taylor is some Iron Man. He has his own injury history in the past, which is why DraftShark's database gives him a 65% chance of injury in 2025, and they label him as a very high risk injury player. But I mean, to be fair, most running backs are in that position. But look, you don't have to look back too far to see the upside of a Colts handcuff. In 2023, Jonathan Taylor went down from weeks 2 to 7, and in that time span, Zach Moss was dominant. I mean, 18.5 PPR points per game, the RB10 in that span, averaging 87 rushing yards per game and 106 total yards per game. Giddens is the guy that you take, again, with your last pick, and if JT goes down with an injury early on, like we've seen constantly, then you could have a starting running back straight away in your 0 RB drafts. All right, my last running back before we get to a quarterback is Tank Bigsby. I've talked about him before on the channel. If you don't want to hear me yap about him, go to the next take. But Tank Bigsby is the cheapest running back in the entirety of Jacksonville's backfield this year in fantasy drafts. And I believe he has just as much of a shot as anyone else to be their guy this year. I mean, ask the question, what did Liam Cohen, their new head coach, what did he reward in Tampa Bay last year amongst his running backs? He rewarded 3 things: efficiency, play extending, and explosiveness. And we saw that last year in Tampa Bay. Bucky was superior in all of those areas, right? Look at these numbers side by side. Bucky, higher yards per attempt by far, yards after contact, missed tackles forced. He was more efficient, more explosive, extended plays more often, which is why they almost gave him 100 more rushing attempts last year. So who in Jacksonville's backfield showed us last year that they offer efficiency, play extending, and explosiveness? Well, if you compare Etienne and Bigsby side by side, it's not even close. Almost a full yards per attempt more efficient. And then as far as play extending, yards after contact per attempt, missed tackles forced, in a different stratosphere Bigsby was to Etienne, which is why even last year's regime gave Bigsby 18 more carries over the course of a season. And yes, of course, Etienne was dealing with an injury. Michael Pittman was dealing with a broken back. Bigsby was dealing with his own injury. Stop coming up with the excuses for Travis Etienne. We just saw Liam Cohen replace a high usage running back with low efficiency last year in Tampa Bay. Rachaad White coming off a 342 touch season. You know, the guy in Tampa Bay, he was replaced. Is that not exactly what we saw from Etienne in 2023? Same year, by the way. Both had 325 touches. Both had great fantasy seasons, but were extremely inefficient. Yes, behind bad offensive lines, but don't sleep on Tank Bigsby. All right, draft with me every night this offseason on the FastDraft app, where there are over $250,000 in prizes waiting to be won. Getting started is easy. Download the FastDraft app, use the promo code LAND at signup to get your deposit match up to $50. That is 10 free drafts on us. And when you finish your first real money contest, I'll send you my 2025 rookie report and season rankings completely free. Check out the link in the pinned comment to start drafting today. All right. How about a quarterback sleeper for you here today? My favorite quarterback sleeper as of today would be Trevor Lawrence. There are 2 simple reasons I love Trevor Lawrence as a sleeper this year. Firstly, Liam Cohen. What Liam Cohen did for Baker Mayfield's career cannot go under the radar. Last year was Baker's only season with 4,500 passing yards, over 70% of his passes completed, over 40 passing touchdowns, and 22 fantasy points per game. And that came with Liam Cohen as his offensive coordinator calling his plays. And by the way, that was Liam's only year as the Bucs OC. If you peep his role in 2021, you can see he was also a big reason why Will Levis was becoming a name in the NFL draft as Kentucky's offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. I mean, the man is a gifted offensive mind. He just might be the next Sean McVay. There's potential. And again, if you peep his role in 2022, you can see he was the offensive coordinator for the Rams under Sean McVay himself. He's in that McVay tree. The second reason I love Trevor Lawrence this year is that wide receiver core is starting to look crispy, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Thomas had a historically good rookie season, and Travis Hunter is a one-of-one unicorn. I mean, Travis Hunter really is the definition of like the ultimate bail out your quarterback receiver. If you watched this film last year, this man has the best ball skills I've ever scouted of any player, and we've been scouting about 5 years now, so he is just a true difference maker. How about the tight end position? All right, Mason Taylor. I know, rookie tight end, but I think there is some upside here. He could be one of your last picks, and then you can kind of play the waiver wire if it doesn't work out. But a Jets reporter asked Aaron Glenn about Mason's ability to contribute from day one, and the reporter basically said, hey, with tight ends, it seems like it takes them a little bit longer to develop before they can contribute in an offense right away. And here was Aaron Glenn's response. Check this out.
Listen, I've been around a number of good tight ends, and I don't know if that statement I agree with totally because of the tight ends I've been around. But I tell you, he's a smart man. I mean, the bloodlines of him understanding football, I mean, that stands out. And his ability to block and be a receiving threat is something that stood out on tape. So.
Now, of course, one of the tight ends that Aaron Glenn is referring to is Sam Laporta, who in Detroit finished with the 5th most receiving yards by a rookie all time. And check this. The Jets' new head coach, Aaron Glenn, came from Detroit. Jets' new offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrom, came from Detroit. In fact, Tanner Engstrom was crucial to the Lions' passing game. And even in the small details, like how did we get Sam Laporta the ball? He was crucial in 2022, 2023, 2024 to that type of role. And if we take a look at this Jets depth chart, I mean, guys, outside of Garrett Wilson, who the hell is getting targets? Seriously. I mean, you think they're going to hyper target Josh Reynolds and Allen Lazard? I mean, granted, the targets are coming from Justin Fields, but Mason Taylor has plenty of opportunities to produce from day one. And if it adds to the hype, here's what Nick Saban, the GOAT college coach, had to say about Mason Taylor. He says it was the biggest recruiting mistake we ever made not getting Mason Taylor. So those are some guys that I absolutely love at the end of our fantasy drafts, sleepers that I think can elevate the ceiling of your roster and give you this type of upside that maybe your league mates aren't seeing right now. Maybe people in best ball drafts aren't seeing right now. Speaking of hitting on a sleeper and how it drastically raises your ceiling, that's what I'm trying to do in my best ball tourneys over on the FastDraft app. I'm trying to do that at the end of my drafts. The Rabbit is a brand new contest. It's a 15-round star 8 format, one quarterback. It just released this month and it's already 30% full at the time of recording this. $50,000 prize pool. There's no rake, 20-second clock. Here's an example of a draft that I recently completed where I took Tank Bigsby as one of my last picks in round 14 as my RB5. And look, the earlier you draft in the Rabbit or Flex 4 or any of these contests on FastDraft, the better the ADP is to exploit. The ADP over on FastDraft's Rabbit tournament is prime for you to exploit right now before it catches up as these contests starting to get filled. So if you want to draft with me, we're drafting all the time. Download the FastDraft app, use the promo code LAND, get your deposit matched up to $50. Then you'll get my cheat sheet completely free for the 2025 season. And then if you do sign up, DM me on Discord or Twitter, and I'd be happy to add you to my FastDraft group chat where we are drafting together constantly during the nights and the days. But I thank you guys for watching the video. If you like the content, subscribe, hit the like button to show some love, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, later. If you're thinking about supporting us in this economy, that's big love, and you deserve love in return. So for every yearly Mother Flocker member who uses the promo code LAND, we're giving out a free team playbook, our 2025 rookie report, access to all premium tools, free site vouchers, and of course, a huge thank you from the LAND crew. You're far too kind. That's love.